Check out this hood. She's rough, look. They put a screw through it. It's in bad shape. Look at this side over here. This is off of a 1968 Datsun pickup, and I am going to repair this hood. Why not? Some issues might be the way it's detached, this brace from there, but I'm sure we won't have any issue fixing this hood up nice and making it new. This spot is high, and I just can't seem to get it down. And it is tin canning, which means that. So I'm thinking I'm gonna cut a patch to put on there just like that. And then when I weld it with a TIG welder around the outside, it should draw this metal in tighter, and hopefully it'll be nice and flat then. I would not even attempt this with a MIG welder, but with that TIG, it's low concentrated heat right in the spot you need it. I think it might work, so I'm gonna give it a try. When you can cut metal with tin snips on a car, it ain't much metal, it's like a new car. If this was a domestic vehicle, you wouldn't be able to do this, not a 1968. Datsun metal in 1968, my guess, 20 gauge. There's 16, 18. It's actually 18 gauge. There's a little high spot right here, so I'm using this stud welder to heat the little spots around the outside of the high spot. And then I'm cooling it off. And that should draw the metal up, tighten up the high spot, pull it flat. I want this spot right here to be as close to flat as it can possibly be before I start welding the patch on. And that should give me an advantage to keeping it flat as I'm welding it and stuff. I think I prefer the magnets on the bottom. That way they'll be out of my way. You want to keep it cool while you're grinding too, because that'll heat it up and warp it. This is the hood off of my 521 parts truck, and I'll show you what I'm interested in here. The structure that supports the hood under here seems to be in much better shape, at least on this end of things. I thought I would take this off of here and see how it would fit and mount to the other hood. I did measure the width, it's the same. The hood support is wider. As you go this direction, my hood gets more narrow and this one stays wider. Plus, this is a lot longer distance, probably 2 inches longer. I'm still gonna make something work with this support. Because remember, our old one looks like this, and it is horrible. My plan of attack is to take this piece off, remove this from this piece, repair this end that's messed up, remove this bottom section, and then attach the two together. Ran into a couple of issues. This is the first one. This is the old bracket right here. And it sits up taller than the bracket we're gonna be using. See, there's a big gap here between it. So how I will solve that, most likely, I'll cut a piece out of this little section and set it down on here and weld it to it and then weld that onto that. I think that should work. The other issue is this support right here. I did measure the very back, but I did not measure up here. So when you put it on, these two sides are sticking out too far, even though the back fits in nicely. Finding exact center on the bracket and the hood so that I can make sure this is perfectly centered. I've got it centered up and vice gripped tight in place. Now we'll take our piece and slide her right in here and let it take its position, if you will. And I'll scribe it right there and weld it up. Both ends are welded up. Now I'll see how it fits. Perfect. It's nice. It's a little bit snug in there. That's just exactly how I wanted it. One good thing about where we patched up the frame, it's hid underneath this, so I won't have to do any work to it on the underside of the hood. I'm attempting to weld this mess up. This is that brace that goes up through the middle of the hood, and it was all tore up here on this end where the latch and stuff goes. The old bracket right here was taller, so I had to make this little piece. I'm trying to make it look factory, trying to hide this the way I put it in there so you kind of don't notice it, but it'll fit like that. I'm going to weld it in the front and the back, and then I'll just put the round spot welds here on the other parts. I'm using some rust converter on all the parts here, especially where, like right now, I'm getting ready to weld these two pieces together. So I want to make sure this inside parts are prepped. I'm going to put a little self-etching primer on them now before I weld them together. After applying the rust converter, you're supposed to wait 24 hours, but using the heat gun seems to accelerate the process. Doing something like this is very time consuming. Look, I'm having to patch up just a little rust spot there. These holes are from where, when you weld on metal, if it's rusty, it'll make those holes. I can go back over them and get rid of those little tiny holes, but I'll probably leave them alone. On this side, you'll never see it, and on the other side, fill them in. I almost forgot about our latch that I have soaking in milkstone acid to get cleaned up. Better get it out of there before it eats it in half. Ah, she's looking spiffy. Self-etching primer. Won't hurt. Little extra protection here. Rust-proof primer, that copper stuff. Better on a brush like this because you don't waste as much blowing it out in the air, and you only need a little dab around what you're working on. Every step I take requires me lining everything back up exactly where it needs to go. This has to be vice grip down in place. This has to be in the right place. I have to check it up there to make sure it's in the right place. Then we can weld. I would say the primer under there is all burned up. Now for our supporting bracket. It's looking like camouflage, ain't it? There's our bracket welded up on the back side. We'll flip it over. There it is welded on the front side. Right side bracket repair. Left side bracket repair. Front bracket repair. Now with everything welded up, let's see how it fits together. The most difficult thing I'm having an issue with is welding this thin, rusty metal. Very difficult to weld. It wants to blow out and leave holes, and it's frustrating. I want everything to be in the position where it belongs. This hood needs to be relaxed. You can't pull this bracket side to side and twist the hood up. It has to stay nice and flat. Really looking good so far. We do have a bracket roughed in. So now we can start cleaning everything up and putting this thing together. But it's not going to happen today, so subscribe to the channel or tune in next week to see more. Thank you for allowing me to invade your space. I am the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee, without a doubt.